So, you know, ranked, free battles, deathmatch, etc. This is kind of a broad overview. So I'll start in game, and then after we do all this, for those who want to stay, I'll actually go into the unit training in game, and I'll show you guys how to do unit micro. Sounds good from everyone?
Nice.
At any point, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. This might go for a while, but it's interactive. We'll crack a couple jokes here and there. Hey, look, I got a friend request. All right, first things first, guy. You're your hero. Let's jump straight into it. Yeah. You have attributes. You stop getting these after level 60. So in essence, once you pass level 60, you are very fair play when it comes to hero versus hero interactions. What makes a big difference is your armor. The difference in armor can be the difference in all stats. But armor is at a maximum level of 30. So technically by level 60, if you got really lucky, you could already have the best armor. Like the game gets very even very quickly in that sense. And then there's 3 stages of development as far as I'm concerned in this game. First is your hero control. So you learn how to do your skills, you learn how to survive, you learn how to do your stats. Then you start worrying, once you've mastered your hero, you start worrying about unit control, so how units are interacting with each other. You will get to a certain point where your unit micro and macro gets huge. So micro is the incremental movements you do with your units, controlling them with X and V. And the macro is the more strategist things. Going to here, going to there, when to resupply, when to build, when to charge, like stuff like that, yeah? Once you get really good with your units, it then comes back to your hero gameplay. The difference between a great maul and excellent short sword can turn battles, can turn territory war battles. Because at a certain point with units, like they get equal. If both players are good with their wing to SARS, they cancel each other out. What makes the difference is which hero dismounted the other hero first, or like, you know, aimed for the other hero, little things like that. Just kind of give you a broad overall. Cool for everyone so far?
Definitely.
Great.
Good stuff.
Alright, so we'll go crack straight into the units. That's pretty much the biggest part of the game. 2 ways to get units into your barracks. You have the generalist unit tree, so you'll be used to this from any RPGs. You have endgame units on the end, you have your shit units at the start, and to get to a particular unit, you need to kind of work your way across the tree. So to get to the Imperial Pike, which is my number 1 recommended first unit to get off the unit tree, I still call these guys the king of the game. They have a certain mechanic here called Advance. They can push over pretty much anything. Cav, the only thing they don't push over immediately is shields, unless they get through the block. You will hear Imperial Pikes everywhere. You'll see them everywhere. I'll give you guys a micro of them later. Anyway, to get to the Imperial Pikes, got to start here, then get this, get this, get this, and get this. Now, when you actually unlock a unit, it doesn't get built into your barracks immediately. What you need to actually do is build them into your barracks. So you can see here, there are some units that I've never built, for example, even though I have 62, yeah? When you're building units, they have something called unit kits. Now, this is essentially the main bronze cost of you in the game. When you create units, you give them 100 of these kits and they are created. That's the bronze cost. Or you physically have the kits on you. So here we go. So you have, you know, Squire kits, Dagger Axe, Lens kits, whatever you need, 30 or 32. This is generally around silver when it's the actual physical item, and when it's straight bought here or sold here, you spend silver on it. So to give you an example, I've got 1 Salemchit kit, and if I replace it, it's for free. But if I replace more than 1, I have to start paying bronze. Now the cost goes with the same. So white units generally have no unit kits except for like the top tier ones. So example is the Mesny Pikeman. Then greens are a bit more expensive. So 1 green kit will be 600 bronze. A blue kit, how much? So you see the cost will go up, 1.5k bronze. Purple kit, which way we got to go? I don't think I'm going to have any purple kits, am I? Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. 1 purple kit, 3. So it's about double and a bit more. And then orange kits obviously get quite expensive. All units require just kits. Cavalry requires kits and horses that you can physically collect from outside or buy. Green horses use green. Green cav uses green horses. So if I replace this, so I have 3 of the kits, that would be for free. I have full horses. Blue horses use blue cav. Do I have any to replace? Probably Selim Chid. So I've got plenty of these, but I've got to pay for this. So you can see it'll start costing a lot of bronze, yeah, and then gold units, astronomical costs. So 1 kit, so I can replace that free. 1 kit is 12.5k bronze. If I start with 100 kits in a good territory war night, I should definitely finish below 50. If I've just charged. That costs you a couple 100,000 bronze to replace if you don't have them. And the purple horses can get quite expensive too and quite rare. But just to give you an understanding of where your bronze will go in the game, it will be once you've building the units costs a lot as well. So like if I'm going to build this unit from scratch, it's going to cost me 300,000 bronze. So make sure you pay attention to that if you're an early player as well. Obviously for you more veterans, not a big deal, but just so you understand the costs associated with it as well. So coming back to the unit tree, you can unlock them through here, or the other way, which is kind of for free, is unit challenges. Now, generally speaking, these unit challenge units will be much stronger than like counterparts in the unit tree. So they have multiple seasons. This is where I started. When you need to change to a season, you got to click on it, and then this is new. You need to actually click Start Season Challenges down the bottom here. Do you guys see this? A lot of people have been caught out by this. So to work across a season, you essentially need to unlock 1 blue, then 1 purple, and then the gold. That's pretty much the theme across the board. With this special exception here, I'm pretty sure it's still the same. You can start working on Pavis immediately, but you need to go Kondo, Fortebraccios, Falconettis. You also get them all here out of Season 2. And so on and so forth. So what we'll do now, if anyone doesn't have any questions at the moment, is we'll go through the unit tree. We'll go through each one and say which units are good, which units are shit, which ones to go for first and whatnot, which nodes are relevant. Nodes are essentially when you start getting an extra bit of honor, you upgrade them. So for very used units, you want to fully upgrade these. These cost a lot. They're like 80k honor. It takes a while. We'll go through each one, and then we'll go through all the unit challenges, all the unit challenge seasons, go through all the units, which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones to try out for, and which ones not to bother for, and that'll be the next part. Any questions before we begin?
Nope.
No.
Sorry, just check. So all the unit kits, every blue unit kit is basically the same price.
Roughly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think horses a little bit more. If I'm not too mistaken, but nothing noticeable. All right. So unit tree, melee first, most important. Pretty much on the left, you have all your serfs. You want to have 5 serfs for something called labor. Maybe I'll quickly go into that. When you go collecting in the outside world, so if I have a warband of fighters, they have 16.2 labor. Full serf, 66 labor. Cav is obviously really trash. So labor is each time you collect from the outside world. I think you guys will mostly be familiar. If not, I'll show you later. But each time you collect, you get a certain amount of ticks or collections. The higher labor you have, and the more technology you have, which we'll come to later, increases the amount of yield that you get from each resource collection. So let's start with the unit tree. All right, guys, can't stress this enough. Imperial Park Guards, these are the gods. Get them first, get them ASAP, get them max, get used to them. We'll continue back from the whites though. Pretty much all the whites, besides the serfs, aren't that great. Combat-wise, sometimes you have 30, 40 points left, and that's realistic. The best combats would be the woodcutter straight off the bat. You go for this charge veterancy. I don't know which one is here. Column, and they charge and they get a sprint. Like they're not going to do anything amazing, but very, very suspiciously, they have armor penetration. So if a cav charges and you charge into their backs, you will take a couple of them out. And 40 leadership versus 320 leadership, which we'll go into later, but it's essentially how much value you get for your unit against the unit that you kill. Big value. The rest of them, this probably the only other 31 that's useful is this, the Village Watchmen. They're essentially the worst pike in the game, but they're still pikes, so they're still slow cavalry. And if you encircle a hero, they can get body blocked inside them. But then Spear Militia, I'd stay away from. Martelori is a mercenary, if you want to give the explanation of that. These are very expensive units that give you special buffs in game. They have no unit kit replacement, and they give you 10% honor and hero XP. They have no unit kit loss. And the one that we recommend is this because it's 30 leadership. The other ones are all a minimum 100, so they're much harder to fit into your teams. Halberdiers, blue halberdiers, these guys are really good in the meta right now. They stopped being used a lot because they got an upgrade in the unit challenges. So these are either brand new units or upgrades of units. So this season was all units that got upgraded. So these are the original halberdiers that got upgraded to Alps, Yeomen into Tundra, Fire Lancers into Northern Lance Cavalry. Still viable, but I wouldn't really recommend it because halberdier sergeants are great, but they're off meta. There's not much experience with them. Like, people are good with them, but for new players, which is what this is designed for, I would not recommend going this tree. Just stay away from it. Save your bronze. Pike Militia, unlock these guys, build them straight into your barracks. I still reckon they're easily top 3 green units in the game. They have a special veterancy in the middle here, stun on brace. It's really good for you to start learning this interaction because this is really important in territory wars. Pikes physically stopping things makes a big difference. Just so you understand the brace mechanic as well, which these guys have, when units are braced, the quicker the unit charging into them is coming, the more damage they take. That's why pikes particularly fuck up cavalry. And if you charge your condos into pike militia and then they all die, you're like, what the fuck happened? It's because you charged into them. If you walked into them, you'll take less damage. So just so all of you are aware. Anyway, then so after you build a pike militia, you unlock prefecture pikemen. I wouldn't recommend building these to any new or intermediate players. They're very hard to use in the sense that you need to charge at the perfect timing. They're hero killers, they're really good at it, but to save your bronze at the start, I wouldn't recommend building this. Unlock it, avoid, get to the Imperial Pikes, build this into your barracks immediately, you're good to go. And then at a certain point, get these node upgrades. Swords units, the Iron Caps got buffed recently. I reckon they're top 3 as well when it comes to green units. They charge and kill heroes. When you, they have this special mechanic here called Iron Recall, so essentially it's a quick run back to you. And then when you upgrade their unit nodes as well and give them a purple doctrine, I think it's a 5-second charge. I definitely recommend getting these guys early game. Prefecture guards, they're okay if they need to be kind of fully maxed out with doctrines, and the unit nodes, and you need to know how to use them and they get value. Otherwise, there's blue shields available from the season challenges, condos that will be much more value for new players. Palace guards, they got buffed as well. I'd say genuinely for saving your bronze, stay away from as well. You can get expedition knights out of your season challenges. They do not as good as a job. These guys are like more advanced gameplay. They have a special mechanic where they brace and they're completely immune to cavalry charges and ultimates and stuff. But most good players just wait 5 seconds and then go in anyway. So they kind of fall out of the meta a little bit. Cheap leadership cost though. And then finally, Iron Reapers. Honestly, they're one of the 3 gold. They're the only gold infantry you can get for the unit tree. Wouldn't recommend. Not worth the price of building it, running it. They're a unit that you'd only get once you've gotten pretty much everything else in the game. Like, it's just sad to say, but it's just a reality of it, you know. And this is all about you guys being efficient with your bronze and your honor and just trying to get to the meta instantly. Shields wise, these guys were meta until they introduced loyal guards into the game, which were the upgrade of this spear sergeant unit. So there was 2 shields, purple shields. There was these guys and the Imperial spears. The Imperial spears were good. The old meta used to be these guys plus Fortebraccios looking front and Imperial Pikes watching the back, and that's how you used to push everything. That all changed when the Fire Nation attacked, when the Loyal Guards kicked in. So this was a season that completely, I reckon, changed the game with the Loyal Guards. These are an upgrade of the Spear Sergeant. If I told people there's one unit they should get first in this season challenges, I always recommend the Loyal Guard. Once you get this bad boy 260 leadership, they can brace, so they can deal with all cavalry except winged hussars. Like, that's the top of the line though. So they will deal with cav. When they brace, they do heaps of damage to anything that charges into them. Really easy to use. Definitely recommended for all new players. Get this. If you bring Loyal Guards and Imperial Pikes to Territory War, even if they're the wrong units, no one's going to say you're an idiot. They're going to say you're the best. You bought the 2 new units that we need to push. Loyal Guards, Imperial Pikes, Fortebraccios. Doesn't matter. I'll get back to the Force later. Those are like the 3 units. If you can never have too many. Like, even if you do, it's still fine. You got plenty of push power. Just to give you the Fortebraccios, quickly, so we know what we're talking about. I reckon this is the season where every single unit is viable. These guys have the longest pikes in the game. I'm sure you would have seen them. They greater holding choke points. They used to be much better. They took a change which completely changed their mechanic. So they used to do the same amount of damage at the top of their spear and at the base. So even when you ran into them, you used to take a lot of damage. They've changed that now, but they're still really viable. So coming back to the pikes, so the Imperial Pike, they're really good because they have the versatility of advancing. So they're not about bracing, they have the advanced mechanics, so they can turn any direction and react. Whereas the Fortebraccios are more about being in the right position to hold the choke, and the enemy has to react to them. And your Imperial Pike's about reacting to the enemy. So there's two fundamental differences there in the pikes. They can both obviously switch roles, but if you learn both of those in the Loyal Guards, you'll get into any TW team. I'd personally take you at least. So moving down, shields wise, so coming back to the Imperial Spears, still viable. If you rocked up with these in sieges and shit, people aren't going to say, oh, you're an idiot. They're going to say, dude, always shields are great. They're thick. They have a special, when you go bottom veterancy, they get a heal. They have a stun, can't be stunned, like lots of good shit. And they have a shield bash as well. Shield bash can knock down. And they have a special mechanic, which you see less of these days, called Cover Commander. It's like C, but it's actually useful. So when you use Cover Commander, they'll follow you and they'll push other things out of the way. So the one tricky, sneaky trick with these guys, excuse me, is you use a Shieldtron formation, you circle someone that's CC'd, and then you press 2 to Cover Commander. All your units turn around and just shield bash them, and most people will instantly die, or at least be dazed to do anything. Still really viable. If you love shields, definitely take them. Blue shields are still really good as well. These guys right now are really important in the meta. We'll see a lot of them on Saturday. They obviously don't do as well as these guys, but once purple units kick in, you won't see them anymore, except for Siege Match trying to save a bit of bronze. But start of the seasons do really well. Spear Militia just get dropped. I wouldn't bother. So if you like if you like holding supply points, holding finals, pushing teams, Imperial Spear Guard definitely worth your money. Javelins are the epitome of like sweaty gameplay. These guys carry jabs that you throw. To make it simple, Javelin Sergeants are unit killers. These guys are hero killers. Obviously, they can both change roles, whatever. Imperial Javs are much tankier. They have a tight formation, but they only have maximum of 3 throws with the Doctrine, whereas Javelin Sergeants can get 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken, with the Doctrine, and they have a lot longer range. These guys will be used a lot more in high level gameplay though, because killing heroes is what gets you wins, not killing units. You know what I mean? Both still viable, though I wouldn't recommend you guys go to Javelins until you're comfortable with the game. Or if you can always, give them a go, but I wouldn't recommend starting here. Come back to these guys later when you're more comfortable, because they take a lot of micro work. Archers next. Everyone loves range gameplay. I'm going to make it nice and easy, guys. Anything on this left side, useless. Now you're going to say to me, Aussie, why? Yeah, I'm going to explain it right now. So there's 3 types of damage in this game, okay? So let's find something. The Loyal Guard, yeah. All right. Piercing, slashing, and blunt, okay? They all have a damage, they all have an armor penetration, they all have a defense. These 3 mechanics interact to give you the damage caused. Piercing is arrows, gun bullets, pikes, thrusting. Anything that's like a thrust or a narrow point or range is piercing. Slashing is swords, glaives, anything for swiping action. And then lastly, blunt pretty much covers everything else. So physical charges, mauls, any units that have like clubs, any like stomping damage, etc. And from artillery is a lot of blunt damage, musket bombs as well. Generally speaking, piercing defense will always be the highest stat amongst units. So to do damage to units that have high piercing defense, you need a metric fuck ton of piercing armor penetration, yeah? And these units don't have it. They just don't. You will look like you're doing work, but you won't be. It will look like it. Now, the reason I say this is there's actually ways to play range and still be relevant, and that's one archer in particular, and there's probably one more, but the king of it all is a Namkin archer. You'll probably hear this in videos, see it, you hear Namkin. Why? It's really easy to get, literally 2 pages of challenges. So maybe we should explain this, but I'll come back to it. So to unlock the units, you got to do physical challenges and then move on to the next page. So blue units, everything bar this season. So maybe we'll change to this one. So to get towards the gold unit, you need to physically unlock your way there. Yeah. So the first page of all new introduced units, so these aren't promotions, will give you a 3-day contract. Blues on the second page, you'll unlock the unit, build straight into your barracks, and gives you space as well. So this is why these guys are really useful. Purple units, first day, 3-day contract. Third page will be the actual unit itself. So you've got to complete the challenges along the way. And then finally, the gold ones will be first page, 3-day contract, and fourth page you'll unlock it. And most of these unique units will have doctrines along the way as well on those pages. So like to get to the Royal Janissaries, you unlock these guys, then you unlock either one of these guys, and then you unlock these guys at the end. Does that make sense? The only one that's different is the Namkins originally. So these guys are like, you got to get to the second page and it's the last page of it, and it gets built into your straight into your barracks. Okay, so what makes Namkins great is they have bleed. Now this is a mechanic known as true damage. If any of you are familiar with this term before in MMOs, so true damage ignores all armor values. Generally, you know, like these are things like chaos damage or whatever in games. Here, there's 3 mechanics that cause this: bleeds, poisons, and fire. Now, Namkins put bleed on the arrows, and as far as I know, it doesn't make them shoot any worse. So you actually have to physically press 2 when you spawn them. That's about it. But they will stack up to, I believe, 10 bleeds or 15 when you fully max them out. Shrek absolutely anything, purple and orange units, but they need to build their stacks. So their actual physical arrows are doing fuck all damage because the piercing armor penetration isn't that great. 1200 looks like a lot, but most units are sitting on 9 or 800. So these guys will stack the bleed damage on, and then that will ignore all the armor values and will hit their HP directly. The only blue archer that's relatively useful, besides this one as well, the Rattan Marksman, that's only good in the current meta against the blues because these guys are like point blank crossbows. Otherwise, they're not too much use, so I wouldn't worry about them too much. So what really matters with this damage thing I'll explain to you guys now is the reason why mauls fuck up your units is they have fuck tons of blunt damage and blunt armor penetration, yeah? And your units have no blunt resistance. 155. You see what I mean? Generally, piercing is highest. In this instance, the slashing is probably from the doctrines and shit whatnot. But yeah, piercing defense will always be high. So this is important to me because people only stop playing shit range when they know why to stop playing. People could tell you a million times and you'll be like, nah, they don't know what they're talking about. I play my Vanguard archers and I'm doing work. Yeah, it looks like you are, but you're killing serfs, dude. You know what I mean? Does everyone understand that? It's clear. No one needs that to be explained again. So we'll be seeing less blue and green archers from everyone. Okay, so now moving to the good archers. There are good archers in this game, guys. These 2 purple ones, Vassal Longbows, are the range killers. These guys have the longest range in the game, are good at killing other archers, and that's it. So you will not see much because it's a high leadership cost. If you love longbows, you're into that whole English RP culture, go for it, you know what I mean? Like, no one's going to stop you. Don't bring them to Territory Wars, but siege only, yeah? Imperial archers have a mechanic that gives them more armor penetration. When they turn on Bodkin arrows, they have much more armor penetration, and you can see it's pretty high to begin with. They do really well, especially with the veterancy stack, but 260 leadership and people go hard to kill your Imperial archers. They will see them and that musket will abandon his own whatever and come and kill your archers. Like, people, these are like glowing, like, I don't know how else to say. Do we have any longbows or shortbows in the house? They will tell you right now, when they see these guys, they will ignore everything and kill them immediately because they're just so weak. Yeah? Did you just say can confirm, yeah?
Can confirm.
Yeah.
One shot,
So
one kill.
the reason
shot,
why
one kill.
Namkins are so good is because their leadership is much cheaper. So for 180, you're getting a unit that does essentially the same thing as that purple archer. He's even weaker, but at least it's, 260 leadership is like can be more than half. So just so you understand the value of leadership, when you kind of get to the max level, I think maybe instantly 700 leadership is the standard. So you can't just, I might not be able to show this because I can't actually fit it. But to kind of make it simple, you can't fit an unlimited amount of troops, yeah? Especially when you're putting in golds. So leadership wise, whites are usually 30 and 40, and these ones can get up to about 70, 80. Greens are 110 to about 125, 130 max, I think. Blues are 170 to about 180, 185, 195 is the highest, I think, these guns. And then purples, these are currently locked until further in the season for everything except ranked expedition and free battles. Purples are 230 to about 260, 265. And then golds are minimum 310 to about, what's a Wintersar fully maxed? I'm not too sure these days.
350.
What, 350 or 340 or something?
Hmm.
Like really, really high. These guys are gods. I'll go through them later. Anyway, so that's why like it matters why that Namkin is better than the Purple Archer isn't just the stats, whatever. It's physically less leadership, less responsibility, and people still kill Namkins, but it's not the same as Imperial Archers. And then moving on, Police Crossbowman, best archer in the game by far. Yeah, fair enough. High leadership. It's a gold unit. These guys have a special mechanic, which is break ammo, so they stun. So when like cavalry charges into them, they use this. They have a high chance to stun. So this might be a good area to get into doctrines. So doctrines are like little upgrades for your unit, like for lack of a better term, equipment. Yeah, you get these by excavating. So you press X, you come to this menu here. You get treaties through weekly quests, a few other ways. We'll come explain those later. But when you put doctrines on a unit, for most units, it's just about adding bonus stats. Like for example, my habit is like increase damage while bracing, reduce charge cooldown, increase damage to heroes, and because this is a unique unit, it gets one doctrine of the seasonal challenges. So all the unique units will usually have at least one. Blues have one, purples have two. I think gold has two as well. Some units, they don't like make or break the unit, but it's certainly a tier that you need to achieve, and you'll see it in the Excel sheet with all the units in there. So for the Pavis, it's this double shot. So this physically gives it a new ability, and this double shot allows them to shoot like 2 shots in one. So it completely adds a new element to the crossbow. Like if you have two Pavis stacked, they both use double shot. Nothing's getting through unless it's like two directions or something. You know what I mean? And then the Photobrachios have stun on brace. This is like another, not must have, but definitely makes them perform much better. You know what I mean? And they've got a unique doctrine as well. We'll come back to those a bit more later. But Pavis, best archer unit in the game, very expensive. Works best when there's more of them, but they definitely need to be babied. But they're tanky. You can also use the number 2 ability to pop shields out. Most people don't know this. So when your Pavis get rushed, if you hit 2 and push your shields out, they have a mini stun involved in that. So it creates a little bit of space between them and the enemies. So just to give you a couple of extra seconds to breathe. Does really well though. Moving down to the guns. The green guns are my other top 3 green unit. For the leadership, 145. Don't hit V and shoot, you'll hit nothing. You just need to keep focus firing. But if an enemy hero runs at you and these guys shoot, insta wipe. And they're really good to learn the gun gameplay, cheap unit to use. So if I was recommending you 3 green units, it'd be Pike Militia, Iron Cap Swords, and the green guns. The reason being is guns can be really, really useful, but they're like, you need to use them well. So coming into the purple guns, these are the ones you'll be seeing. Kriegs are the best bang for shot. They shoot really well. They have fuck all ammo though. So if you see the ammo will be 450 compared to the Imperial guns. What is it? Fuck, my Kriegs again. I'm such a noob. 800, nearly doubled. So these guys will run out of ammo really quickly, and the Imperial guns are generally said to be the 2-use guns. They have a volley fire mechanic. They do a lot of work. But Kriegers will like individual shots, the best ones. They're more like machine guns, they're more like concentrated fire. And then you have your tertios. These guys really tanky. They also have a melee mechanic, which is good and bad. They pull out the swords on their own. So sometimes when you want them to keep shooting, they'll pull out their swords. You can't force the guns back. And they have the highest amount of slashing armor penetration in the game and the highest amount of piercing damage, and like their stats are crazy good, even melee wise. Like look at the slashing armor pen, 1915 and then 1702. You'd say that arguably Royal Janissaries are the best slashing unit in the game. What do I got? 1616 is literally lower than them, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't recommend though the tertios. Only reason being is these guys have a terrible shot. They take a bit of time to start working up. Like they need to shoot for a little bit to be noticeable. But turn a corner and see these guys you don't have anything to react. You're dead. They will mow down things. Guns and crossbows have a sort of passive mechanic in this game where they will interrupt cavalry that runs towards them. They're really good at it, and they have a special mechanic called block break, which is pretty decent. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend this for new players. I'd say start with the green guns, and purple guns will get you more value. But definitely something you can look towards. When it comes to gun gameplay, I tell most people you probably need to specialize in this, because then you'll know how each of the guns work and which ones are needed in what situation. Cool. We'll go over the equivalent units in the unit challenges when we go back. So we'll move on to Cav now. Cavalry is in a funny place. These three are essentially trash. These two are trash. This is the best cavalry in the game, and these guys are good in the current meta, and they're good for another reason, which I'll quickly cover, is unit speed. Units have two types of speed. They have the in-game speed, which is 5.5, and this one compared to like a cavalry unit, which will be 13.3. So physically it'll move much quicker in the battlefield. Then you have actual world speed. So when you have a warband that you could travel outside with, so this is a labor will work at 2.6. This is got shield, so it's lower at 2.2. These cavalry are all light armor cav, so they'll travel at 4.0. But as soon as I add medium, which will be like these guys, they'll drop to 3.5. Now all the gold cav in this game is essentially max 3.5. The only other 4.0 speed cavalry besides the 3 golds and the blue Salemchid are these two, the Keshigs and the Rattan. So coming back to the cavalry. So these three are good, kind of have, especially early game, to learn cav gameplay. Couturier, surprisingly well. You get full doctrines on these guys. They can do a lot of work. I certainly recommend, say that they're better than the Salemchids. So these are the 3 main purple cav doctrines for lance units. You get these. Obviously, you want them on your Winged Hussars and Tundra Yeomen first, but yeah, play long enough and you can get them going. Come back to cavalry. So, horse archers, trash for the horse archer gameplay. Like, I feel like they're better than Corchins, but don't expect results. Decent charge, more about nuisance gameplay and flanking. These guys can charge head on. Purple cavalry, trash. These guys, bro, I've unlocked them, max doctrine, don't worry about it. Please, like, I've got thousands of hours, let me just tell you. These guys got upgraded and are now the best purple horse unit in the game when you have the upgraded one, the Tundra Yeomen that I showed you earlier. What else? Prefecture cav, don't even bother, they're like this, but like, honestly, this will get you more value than this, because this is like high leadership, like we mentioned before. Now, Cataphracts have a shield, otherwise useless. Fire Lancers also got an upgrade to Northern Lance Cavalry. They were the best unit in the game, then they got nerfed and now just not seen much. Winged Hussars, I cannot explain this so much. They got nerfed like recently-ish, like maybe a season or two ago, where they used to break through units and not stop. Nowadays, they get stopped kind of on their own. I think they kind of just tone them down a bit. But this is the unit that can change gameplay in physical confrontations more than anything else. These guys, when they charge, they actually drop their lances down. So when they charge, the damage comes from here. So before your horse even takes damage, it's coming through here. And then when the physical horses hit, they take another hit of damage. Does real good work. Getting to them is quite difficult though if you have to go along this route. So what we recommend is you have these F4 challenges. Yeah. When you complete all of these, you get a golden box. Most people will say, what unit do I get? I say, don't get anything from here, save all your honor and unlock the Wing Tassar directly, and then you pretty much do not have to touch this tree ever again. You get this unit for free when you do the promotion challenges. So these units that actually get promoted, so these three, on the first one, you get the physical unit, so it will build you Yeoman Lancers. If you already have them, it will give you the stuff below, and then you get the actual upgrade. So same thing, blue one, second page, the upgrade, first page, the actual unit. This one will be the third page, and this one will be the fourth page. Make sense? So you get the Fire Lancers here as well, for example. Save yourself a lot of honor. Maybe get one unit from here if you want to start green cav play early to try and learn. Get the Wing Tassars from there. Moving on to the Knights. Monastics are the tankiest cavalry in the game. Many seasons ago, they kind of used to have a place in the meta. Now you'll only really see them free battle. They're still not bad, fully leveled, knowing what you're doing with the right doctrines. They still do a lot of work. But the reason why the Wing Tassars are like the pinnacle of cavalry is they have one certain. So charges can no longer be interrupted. This gets at level 26, I believe. So most people will say your Wing Tassars need to be at least level 26 to have this. Now, this doesn't mean they're completely uninterruptible. They'll still get stopped by musket bombs, ultis, what else? Like even Pavis using using the ability. But remember how I mentioned the crossbows and the guns have that passive cavalry stopping? All that stuff will be stopped. So your cavalry will take concentrated effort. Like to stop a Wing Tassar charge requires actual commitment, whether it's ultis from heroes, a shot from artillery, or Imperial Pike advance, or dedicated foot archers and stuff. That's what makes these guys really deadly. And the monastics just don't have that. They can be interrupted so much more easily. Green spears currently in the meta does alright, otherwise they completely die out. Spear sergeants, you get loyal guards and you get these guys for free. Men at arms get upgraded to expedition knights in the same season. Squires are trash. So honestly, you can save yourself and not get anything from here, except the loyal guards. With promoted units, so in this instance, spear sergeants, these unit nodes that you get will affect both the original unit and the upgraded one. So, for example, my halberdiers, this will all apply to the Alp halberdiers. Yeah. While I'm talking about stats, I might tell you. So some things like here, each level increases piercing damage, and then some things will say increases base value. Increases base value means that it will only be affected by whatever the base stats are. But when it's something like this that says increases each level piercing damage, when you put doctrines on them, a piercing damage doctrine, that will affect that number. So it'll be 60 plus 3% of 60 as well. Just something to keep in mind when you have one or two doctrines left to put into a unit. You should look at the unit veterancy and say, oh, I get increased piercing damage or increased piercing defense. Let me put in a piercing defense doctrine in. Generally speaking, with doctrines, piercing defense is the go-to, and then whatever the values are. So green ones are like kind of the stock standard. So I'd have like green on. So Demesnes, you know, piercing defense, pike, piercing, and then health, because obviously it's a pike unit. And then finally, the last units on the unit tree, Rattans. For me personally, the only useful one here is the Rattan Ranger. These guys are the best horse archer in the game. Doesn't mean they're great, but it's the best we have. They're a drive-by unit. You chase other cavalry, you slow them down. They have a poison mechanic on them, and they have a decent charge. They used to be a lot better. Nowadays, only reason to really have Rattans is if you have Keshiks as well, because you can go outside in the world and have a gold cavalry warband with 4.0 speed, which is the max, so you can chase anyone down, which is what I usually do. So like in gold era, if I'm just sort of like patrolling, I'll pull out this guy and this guy be 4.0, and I can just get to wherever I need to. Otherwise, all the gold cavs are a bit slower. The rest of the units on that tree though, these guys have a poison. They can't brace though, so not too much work. Mastermen do really good work now. At a certain point, they used to do damage to siege towers, but that got nerfed. Rattan Vipers just don't even bother, and shields I wouldn't bother as well. Just get something better like Iron Caps. These guys are okay. Some people say it, but I personally don't have much experience with them, just to be honest with you off the bat. And you can go for Rattan Rangers if you want Horse Archers. That's pretty much a unit tree, boys. Any questions? I know there was a lot and we still got a lot to go, but you can see like this is in depth, everything like going once over. After this, you don't have to ever see this information again.
I would
have a quick drink.
I would restate that getting anything in the honor nodes in the unit tree also affects the upgraded version of that unit. Elf Halberdiers are affected by Halberdier upgrades. Loyal Guard upgrades are affected by Spear Sergeant upgrades. I'll say that one more time.
So like for this year, increases your spear sergeant slashing defense, piercing defense. So if you put a piercing defense doctrine on your loyal guard, this will affect the piercing defense doctrine. So those stats will stack on top of each other. All right, unit challenges. Generally speaking, these guys for pound value are usually better than their counterparts. Not always, but mostly. Season 1, we'll make this a bit quicker. Best blue archer, best blue horse, trash blue horse archer, really trash infantry. I'm going to be honest here, boys, like I'm not fucking around here. Leadership, and these guys have blunt damage, but they have like a 60-second charge cooldown and they get destroyed, don't bother. These guys have melee cavalry and they have a special mechanic that you use and they shoot arrows. I really wouldn't bother. Keshiks used to be gods, but then they got nerfed to the shithouse. Only good thing for them now is doing Expedition 1s and the 4.0 travel speed outside. So if you're going to come here, I'd say get the Namkins, get the Slemchids, move on. Season 2, different story, but every single unit here, viable. Condos, arguably the best blue swords in the game. They have a special mechanic that does Yield Bash, has a charge, cheap to use, reliable, can wipe heroes, anything. Fortebraccios, longest spikes in the game. Hard to kind of get to know how to use. They're very slow, but these guys will hold chokes like nothing else. Falconettis, you may see, these guys are the only artillery units in the game. Besides Winged Hussar, this is probably the only other unit that completely can change a fight. One of these guys shooting at your team, uncontested, point blank, will wipe anything that you have. So they're a priority to kill. Longbows will shoot these guys immediately, so they take a lot of babying, but they are worth it if you're doing it right. Generally, territory wars, you want to bring at least one or two of these that are like, you know, used by someone who knows what they're doing. But for as a personal unit, definitely go for it. You'll see you'll have a lot of fun with them in free battles and stuff. Pavis, we talked about before, you can get them from the unit tree from here. So when you're working on unit challenges, so you unlock this, you get to the second page, and now you're on the third page, and you get to the Fortebraccios. You get to work on this and this at the same time. So if, technically speaking, you could get to this here, third page, and still be on the third page of this, start working on the Falconetti, and then you could be working on 3 of these at the same time. Same for them all. So you want to make sure that when you're doing challenges in a certain season, check all the units that you can do and try to stack them, you know? If this one has deploy artillery and this one has get artillery kills, make sure you get artillery kills with the artillery you deploy, you know what I mean? You really want to have a look out here for these examples. And Maul is pretty broken. I'm sure you guys have all experienced the blunt damage. So all really viable, definitely a season worth spending your time on. Unfortunately, Turkish units used to be a bit better when they were introduced, not so much now. Best blue guns in the game, really decent in the meta now. Hero killers, not much unit killers, pretty fragile as well, and 195 leadership, so you won't see much of them. Pagodas, I reckon these guys are the best purple sword in the game by far. Only reason being is they have these two mechanics, but they're very micro intensive. You got to use your defensive stance and your quick strike properly. And when you go this stance here, so when they use the counter attack, they can't be knocked over. You can literally walk these guys into Imperial Pikes of Fortebraccios, press 2, they shield up, they come point blank, you hit 3, and they'll wipe the whole unit. Really good at killing heroes as well. Definitely something to have fun with. Really good on the walls, like underrated for me. Purple Cavalry, Spax, they do blunt damage, pretty trash to be honest. I wouldn't bother. Royal Janissaries, they're really good at cleaning up fights. They need to come in once Pikes have advanced, cavalry is charged, artillery is shot. By then, usually the fight's over. But if it's not, they can come clean up. Otherwise, then that one Imperial Pike advance and they're pretty useless. So I wouldn't recommend too much value out of these guys. You also have these challenges on the side here to get doctrines, signalicums, and a couple other things. So definitely check them out at some point in schematics as well. But only thing I'd really recommend is Pagodas. Maybe blue guns if you're still new to the game, trying to get into guns as well. I know some of you guys might not agree with this, but just my opinion. Now this unit, this season, Loyal Guard is the most important for me, but not necessarily the most strongest. Nafan Guard, these guys are probably the only other unit besides Wing Tsar and Falconer mentioned that can turn a fight instantly. They shoot fire, they CC everything, it's AoE damage, it's crazy. There's Dassault Fort, I believe, there's a certain spot that you set them up, like, they do work, they are used in territory wars, but they're weak. Longbows, and falconers and stuff will shoot at them and destroy them. Definitely more high level gameplay. You can work towards them because essentially to get to the Loyal Guards, you need to unlock these guys, Ball Boys. We've all seen them, we all love them. They're alright now because all blue units, otherwise they don't do much. They die too quickly. Expedition Knights are like the tankiest swords in the game. They're really good at like holding chokes on walls, but once cavalry comes out, they're pretty useless on the ground. They don't have any way to deal with anything else, like no special mechanics. They have a heal, but it's nothing special. That's why I reckon Pagodas are better, because Pagodas actually provide gameplay potential. Loyal Guards are, I cannot stress this enough, guys. The more of these in a match, the more of these in a gameplay, the more wins you'll see. And then Nafan Guard, fire shooters, definitely something to work towards because you're going to have to unlock these anyway. So when you unlock this guy, you get to work on both purples at the same time. So it's something you can spend your time doing, definitely worth it. But Loyal Guard's the #1 priority. These guys, first season to unlock fully, so there's no unique units here, they're all upgrades, but all viable. This used to be like, I used to tell people this was more important than Wing Tsar, but they got nerfed, so not anymore. You won't see them much, even in territory war, maybe field battles and stuff like that, village attacks. They're just not really worth it, especially for the cost to run them. But this is the strongest purple cavalry in the game, the Tundra Yeomen. They're the upgrades of the Yeomen, definitely worth running these guys. And our halberdiers are the strongest charging blue unit in the game. When they charge, they actually use the tip of their spears to do the damage, so there's like quite a big hitbox. Insta-kill heroes, even if there's 3 or 4 of them in the charge range. Then they have a special mechanic which does slow and bleed and like resets the attack animation, so it's pretty strong. And they're also cheap to run. Definitely recommend these guys. I use them a lot. Then moving on to last season, Vikings. Last season. Wolf Boys, they got a bit of a buff, surprisingly good, doing very well in this meta. But once purple units are out, they pretty much lose every purple fight one-on-one. Still really good for sieges, but nothing near territory war. Berserkers, when these guys had a bit less leadership last season, they saw a lot of gameplay and they were cheap to use because they were 50% unit resupply cost. Still good for fighting on walls, still good in ranked. Territory war, you'll kind of be assigned to bring these guys. You'll be like an initial wall climber or initial wall defender or something. But once the heat of the battle starts, a couple Loyal Guards, Fortebraccios, these guys are like just missed, you know what I mean? Disappearing instantly. Shield Maidens were the first gold shield introduced. Higher cost than Loyal Guards to run and to resupply, but arguably from me, they do 2 things. So they have swords as well, but they're not really great at it. The shield gameplay is pretty average, and once everyone got introduced to the mechanic of bracing shields in Loyal Guards, non-brace shields just don't seem to be that powerful. But they are good add like kind of like solo gameplay in the sense that if you're doing flanks or wall stuff, they'll still serve you really well. Still really good for sieges, but honestly, like as it stands, I don't think the wolf seasons are really a priority for you guys. They're probably something to come back to later, and more about siege gameplay getting done. Berserkers will still have a place in the meta though, but a lot less than last season. And then finally, the new season, we can't really say much, unfortunately. The monks, pretty decent, nothing special. I think they'll fall out of the meta as soon as purple comes out. The pike seems to be something could be interesting. Has a lot of CC and damage potential. I think that's it. So we've gone over all the seasons.
Ozzy,
Yeah.
maybe it might be good to point out the which current season has got less quests.
Nah, they're all
to
the
do.
same now. They're all the same. They changed that. So they're all reduced.
All of them are reduced.
All of them reduced, yeah.
So
So the way it used to work is, guys, so doing a blue unit, I think it's 6 challenges. Purple is like 8, and then orange is like 12. Yeah. The current season would have 2 less, so instead of 12, you'd have to do 10. And if you change to a gold season from a season before, so I'll give an example here. So I done the Royal Janissaries back then, 10 out of 10. Before this season, this used to be 10 out of 12 because it was I done it when it was 10 out of 10, but there's 12 challenges available. And if I change it back to like my Falconetti, see how I done 12 challenges? I had to do 12 out of 12, but now it's reduced down to 10, so it's like that across the board.
sweet.
Alright, that's pretty much all the units and the unit seasons. Any questions, guys, about any of those? Or we'll move on. I know it's a lot we've covered, but still quite a bit to go. But that's
Good
units
stuff.
pretty much
Good
done.
stuff.
All of them, the shit, the good, the bad, the ugly. Anything you want to go over, or we'll keep moving?
Yeah, keep moving. Good stuff.
Alright, sweet. So, at this point, you've seen the units, you've seen which ones do what. So, maybe we'll segue from this straight into the next part, which is always hero armor. People love this shit. Start of the season, your bonuses are pretty much locked out. The main gist is everything is based on these blue schematics. So you can have unbound and bound. Where do I go? I need to find one here. I should have one box, but I can't fucking see it. I've gone blind. I'll just use the weapons. So when you're crafting armors, you use these blue schematics, and with these blue schematics, they can tick up. So they can either be blue, purple, or orange. So you won't see people using purple schematic bases. It will all be blue, and they'll keep rolling for it. Generally, you want 2 things. You want it to be orange with leadership. That's sort of the end game of armor. But having orange without leadership, so you have 2 sets. You'll have one set with leadership to do like whatever you need, and then one set without you can use for free battles, death matches, and whatnot. So maybe before we start crafting, so one thing people make the mistake is between repairing and reconditioning. Now, only ever repair your armor when you get a notification like this, yeah? Like in WoW, if you've played it before. Literally, it says this needs to be repaired. Don't ever click repair all. Click repair and then click on the item itself. Now, what happens is every time you repair, the endurance will go back to max, but the total will reduce. So this is now 20 out of 100. It'll probably go to like 92 out of 92. 80, fuck, much less than I expected. Now, I'll keep using this item in matches and matches and matches. When it gets to 20 out of 80, I'll click repair and repair it again. And that will go down to 60 out of 60. Now, you keep repairing and repairing and repairing until an item gets to 20 out of 20, and it cannot be repaired anymore at that point. And if you keep wearing it, it will eventually break. At that point, you actually need to take the armor to this guy here, put it in, and then recondition it. When you recondition something, the total endurance will go back to the maximum value. So 260 out of 260, 300 out of 300, or whatever. So you only ever recondition rarely once you fully use up an item and its repair time. Does that make sense? Because a lot of people recondition a lot and they run out of materials. Because reconditioning costs the exact same as crafting one in the first place. It's something that a lot of people have a hard time understanding. So if I wanted to craft these jewel blades, So I require all the materials. Now you have bound and unbound. This is a mechanic that can cost you a lot of silver in this game. Anything that has this little chain link means that it's bound, you can't sell it. Now I have a bound schematic and I have unbound schematics here. So when I craft something, so what do I have? Boots, okay. So if I crafted these boots, if I leave this bound as like bound here, even though this is an unbound material, it will make a bound item. So if you're trying to make unbound to sell, you need to click this and unbound it, have an unbound schematic, and have unbound materials as well. So if I click this here, you'll notice my steel bars and my powdered silver goes up. It means that's going to use the bound material first, okay? Is that clear for everyone? This can cost you a lot of silver. This stuff costs quite a bit. 75 silver each. Do you know what I mean? So every time you craft something, it essentially has 3 roles. First it goes, is it going to be blue, purple, or legendary? From the blue, green can be green and blue. So this can be green and blue. This can be green, blue, purple, and then this is blue, purple, orange. This is pretty much what most of the gameplay is around. So when it ticks, it goes, is it going to be blue, purple, orange? Then it's going to give it bonus stats. So it might give it health, piercing defense, crit value, or leadership. And then the final role is the weighting towards those certain stats. So just because you get leadership doesn't mean it's going to be good leadership. You could get leadership 10, leadership 19, or leadership 25, I believe is the max. And generally speaking, a blue will have like maximum of 18 leadership, rarely anything above 20. Purples kind of hover around 20, 22, and oranges usually hit 24. It's rare to see like a blue 24, but it can happen. The only reason being, when it actually ticks legendary, the amount of bonus stats that it has is more. So it has the potential to be higher weighted. Does that make sense? So it's also the amount of weighting and where the weighting itself goes to. So like I have these 2 helms, but both orange. This one ticked leadership and health, and the piercing and blunt defense was low, and the one on the right didn't go, and has gone pretty high into piercing defense, and then it's gone to slashing defense, for example. So you're pretty much crafting blue materials all the time with blue schematics, and you're doing bound stuff to make what you need. You generally want to get a bit of bonus leadership. I'd say about 740 is probably like what you need to start off. That will allow you to bring 3 purples, which is kind of like a baseline for territory war. Cool.
Why would I use unbounded? Why would I craft unbounded armor if it uses so much silver?
You can sell it. So I've
Very
got
good,
2
guys.
boots that I'm selling here. This one's purple 20 leadership, 1.5 million. 18 blue leadership for 400k.
Nice.
So you're only crafting unbound to sell. Realistically, you're not going to use it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So the thing being is, the reason is you don't want to use unbound schematics to make bound material. The schematics themselves cost 30, 40k depending on which one, yeah? So if you've got unbound schematics and you're going to make bound armor, you're kind of losing that silver. You're better off selling it and then using bound schematics. Bound schematics are rare, but you generally get quite a bit as the season progresses. So the first stop is usually the seasonal store. You can get 10 of these. Then anytime you have like these bonus events, like these horses, you can get bonus armor schematics as well. You'll go through a lot of these. I've probably gone through hundreds, if not. I've spent millions of bronze salvaging. So the materials themselves, you can get them through the horse seller here. So you come to this guy. They changed the mechanic this season a little bit. But generally speaking, I reckon the tacks are probably the best ones to go through. Either riveted or ordinary, you can kind of mix them up a bit. So if you need to buy heaps, you can hold enter and then just keep clicking. So watch out here. Don't ever untick this, otherwise you start spending your silver. So whenever your inventory is full and you do something like salvaging or a game, it'll come into your mail, so don't worry about it too much. So if I came salvage this. So I'm salvaging bound stuff, I'm gonna get bound materials. If I salvage unbound stuff, I get unbound materials. Make sense? So this will all be bound stuff. Any questions about that? Let's craft something and see how it procs. Make a drill blade for Rhea. Not bad, I guess. Plus slashing, you know what I mean? So with weapons, it's a lot harder to get good ones because they have a lot of bonus stats, and then to get the right ones is a lot harder. But yeah, see, so that pretty much propped up the purple and gave me the bonus to weighting. So is everyone cool with crafting there? You can also craft horse armor as well. The horse armor that you craft is usually better than the stuff that you buy. So I've got one green horse with full purple armor, and then I've got a purple horse with purple armor. So I'll spawn with this one. This will be like my first horse to survive, and then when I pull out my cav or I need to make gameplay, quick plays, I'll pull out the purple horse. This is rare. I think this was not last season, the season before, and we haven't seen one since. Cool. Any questions about crafting, repairing? And then reconditioning. When you recondition something that's bound, it's going to stay bound. If it's you shouldn't recondition something that's unbound, essentially. If you're looking for new armor, don't recondition, because every time you recondition, it gives you the original fully healed up, and it gives you another option. If they're both good, you miss out. Always just craft a new stuff. If it's shit, you can just salvage it. If it's okay, it's in your bank, yeah? Reconditioning, rarely. If you're unsure, if you're like, bro, I don't know, do I repair or recondition? Message me, hit me up, and I'll help you out. You're gonna save yourself so much bronze and silver. Cool?
Yep.
Any questions? I guess we can kind of move on. So let's start with inventory. Bronze, silver, honor, sovereigns. Bronze main sink is going into your unit kits, and when you go outside to collect resources, it costs bronze to collect. Otherwise, you get it for pretty much playing the game, and 3 barrels is a good way. Silver is the kind of market mechanic.
Ozzy, your stream is quite laggy for some reason.
Shall we start it?
Yeah, maybe just give it a restart, guys.
All right.
While you're doing that, the reason why you do unbound, guys, sometimes is if you land a purple or gold unbound gear with 20 plus leadership, you're looking
Millions.
at millions of silver. But essentially, a gear costs about 40k. The mats will cost on top of that, so you're looking at about 50, 60k per piece. And if you don't get leadership, you basically get zero. You get nothing. So it's
Nothing,
a gamble.
yeah. It's a gamble, yeah. So I got a lot of silver through selling leadership schematics and artillery, pretty much. Silver's your main market thing. So you have two sides to your inventory. You have your inventory and your personal storage. So this is your hero stuff, your treaties, your armor, your boxes to open, your bonus XPs, your crafting materials, your signalicums. All this stuff will be here. It can only go from here to here. When you open something from here that's artillery or unit kits, it will go into your wagon supply dump. Your wagon, anything from your wagon can go into your supply dump into wagon. It can't go from your wagon into your personal storage. They're essentially two completely separate inventories, yeah? Your wagon is always 150k max. The more you put in it, the slower you are in the world. And then this is pretty much everything else. Resources that you collect from the world, exotics that you get, unit kits, materials. So this is refined resources for creating artillery and unit kits. Unit mounts, so these are for replacing your unit kits on your horses. Trophies, these are from killing rebels to do thief quests. And finally artillery, pretty much to do work, you know what I mean? So when you press V to sell on the item market, this is where you're making your silver. So when you sell here, you can sell whatever's in your inventory. If you want to sell it, it can't be in your personal storage. And then your resource market, you can have access to your wagon. If you're at your camp, you have access to your camp. Now, the item market is available in any town that you go to, but resource markets are in only key specific locations. They will have these little, what's it called? Is it like a market symbol, like those measuring scales? So all the capital cities are default trade towns and then the AI towns. So Oh, what the fuck? If you move your camp to a fort or a town or a village, you can't access the resource market there, only the item market. So that's why, generally speaking, your camps will usually be at either a big town or a castle, and then you'll change it as needed, dictated by territory war, for example. Yeah, so you can sell everything on here. So then last you have sovereigns, which is obviously the money currency. You can buy stuff off the here. The first thing kind of people use it for is to buy the Martel Lori. Sometimes they come on half price offer. I definitely recommend that. Otherwise, you can free to play. You don't need to get shit. The only thing that I might recommend early is premium. You get a lot of bonuses, but you get a lot of those free from Twitch drops. Honor you get from doing pretty much playing the game. Stacks out at 100. When it stacks at 100 and you keep getting it, it gets converted to bronze. Shit, bronze conversion rate, I wouldn't bother. And experience, this came out last season, so this goes to a maximum of 1 million when it's stacked as well, and you keep playing, it converts to bronze. Pretty shit conversion rate as well. I wouldn't recommend maxing those out. Make sure you keep an eye on that. Yeah, so when you actually get items into your inventory, watch out guys, it can fill up quite quickly. And also when your inventory is max and you see something cheap on the market, you can't buy it. It says your inventory is full, so you want to watch out for that as well, for those farmers out there. And that's it. So we'll move on to the next one, which I believe is gathering resource stuff. So first and foremost, you want to have 5 serfs. You want them to go all bottom veterancy to this one. So this increases all the resources gathered, and then I believe they give you 62 labor. Then I've got actual labor doctrines on them. So this is the max labor you can have, which is 66. Then you have technologies. So you have 100 collections per week. You get experience every time you collect. The more exotics you get from the collection, the more experience you get, and then you get these will increase the yields that you get. I definitely recommend going for the exotics first. Probably the ones that matter most would be copper and iron, and then probably sinews, because these are what's used for making artillery. I don't think that's changed, so I still recommend those. So tin, iron, and calamine. We'll come to that in a sec. So actually going outside to collect resources. Everything can be collected once by default. They have taxes on them set by the owners of the fiefs. You can go collect unless they turn off collections to neutrals or hostiles, depending on your interaction. Unfortunately, we don't own anything to show, but if your allies own, if you and your direct house allies, so this would be us here, and when we have an alliance, the other 2 houses, you can collect from your own. So if you own the fief, maybe this will be a bit easier to explain. You own the resources around it, yeah? You can collect from those 3 times a day. And the taxes are usually set to 0, so it's quite easy and cheap. If it's owned by your house ally, you get 2 collections, and then if it's owned by your blue ally, which is when you're in an alliance, you have your diplomatic allies, you can collect from there once, but the general gist is they'll have their taxes turned off as well, so it's pretty cheap. As a new player, I'd say go out, go ham, collect what you can. Be careful, you're going to get pursued. Doesn't matter because you're collecting shit anyway. Just try and hit this 100 number once you have enough bronze to get there, but otherwise just do a couple collections here or there and use them for fief quests. Now resources themselves, there's the main ones are timber, copper, iron, cotton, and what did I miss? Hides. Where's the tannery here? Is there one? Fuck me. I know where there is definitely one. I'm going to Cunu. And this tannery, yeah? So, the resources will always stay the same resource. When it's depleted or reaches a certain amount, it resets. And that can reset from anything from white, green, blue, or purple. That's random, yeah? So, when people link a resource, they will be sitting there before the reset happens. So let's try and find something here that might be reset. So this resets in 42 minutes. So the farmers will go there, and as soon as it resets, if it turned purple, they start collecting immediately. So sometimes you'll see people, you'll click on a purple mine, and then you click it again, and it's instantly depleted because the farmers are already there. Just as a quick tip. So 42 minutes, this will respawn. 41 minutes, it will still be copper. It will be a color of copper. Now, when you go actually collect from that blue copper, white copper, whatever it is, it will give you that specific color. So this is blue stone, this is purple stone. The other ones that we probably missed are stone and what else? Farms give you food. So white farms give you the lowest amount, purple farms give you the highest amount. Pretty standard. The resources kind of work the same. So white copper will give you like a couple hundred per tick, and purple will give you a couple hundred and a little bit more. And then they give you exotics as well. Exotics are what's used for refining. We'll go to the unit kit guy now and I'll show you that. Fuck, where am I looking? Here we go. So exotics are the same across the board. So whether it's a purple copper, blue copper, white copper, it was still the same. So copper gives you calamine. So when you collect from a white resource, there's a very low chance to get exotics and a very low yield, and you pretty much get white copper out of it. When you collect from green copper, you'll get a green copper ore, and you'll have a little bit more chance to get the calamine, but not much. Then blue will have a medium chance to drop the exotic, give you blue copper ore, and when it actually does drop an exotic, it's a higher yield than the purples. But purples are generally the best, high chance to get exotics, high yield, a bit less than blues, but overall much better, and a high chance to get treasures as well, which are the baseline exotics, the 8-9k. You can either sell them for silver or you can turn them in. Otherwise, the separate uses for the certain colors of a resource are for turning in thief quests. So thief quests will say, I want timber, but only purple timber. So blue timber, green timber, white timber won't work here. Or when you're selling on the marketplace, you sell the certain type of timber that you're selling. So if I was selling, blue cotton or purple cotton, they're all separate. But then all the resources are the same when it comes to refining. So those are the uses for materials. You're turning them in for thief quests, you're selling them on the market, or you're coming to this guy and refining it. Now, when you refine materials, these refined materials are used to make either unit kits or artillery. So I wouldn't recommend making unit kits as a new player. You're essentially trading silver for bronze, and bronze is a lot easier to come by than silver. But purple and orange unit kits can sell, can make a bit of money, and you can save yourself some bronze. Generally speaking, you want to be making artillery. So I wouldn't recommend green. You can make some blues like grape shots that are pretty viable, but purple artillery is what people generally make. So when a town is conquered and then put up to level 7, you can only make purple cannons and purple ballistas here. You can make this unit kits here. You can't just make it anywhere. And you need to have permissions, so it needs to be a friendly town or give neutrals access. And there's also a workshop tax on it as well, depending, So these guys have it at neutral 200%, for example. So you can't make the cannons here yet. This town actually needs to get to level 7 first. Yeah. So making green artilleries and green unit kits, it uses green materials, green refined materials. Making purple and blue artillery uses blue materials. That's why making artillery is generally a better investment. So making it green requires just the material. So making green fabric, any of the fabrics will do. In this instance, they all count for the same. The only difference being that purple, you require less of the resource. So white, you require 10, here requires 6. With blues, you require 1 exotic. So to make cast iron, I require iron of any color, depending on how many I use. And then I require calamine, which is actually a exotic from copper. Now, the reason why we say get tins, irons, and sinews, the hides, and go for those research nodes and collect from there, is those 3 exotics are the ones used to make materials for making artillery. So you generally need cast iron, so using iron ore and exotic calamine from copper. Then to make copper ore, you require copper and then tin, which is the exotic from iron, so they kind of work in inverse. So collecting both of those is viable. And then you finally have timber, which requires sinews. So you've got to collect wood, whichever one it happens to be, and then sinews, which is the exotic from hides. Finally, you have stone. Stone doesn't require any exotic, so it doesn't really come into gameplay much. Purple materials have 2 versions of them. You can't make it here because we're in the eastern town. So there's pure iron and there's another type of iron. And these are only for unit kits. So making these really complicates your crafting process and requires you to do a lot more research. Sticking with the blues and making artillery is cheaper and more effective for territory war. Does that make sense? So you craft the materials here, you refine them, then you come back to the artillery guy in whatever town you want to make the artillery, and you go hard. The trade towns generally give you a blue artillery choice. So here you can make blue culverins. Here you can make blue Scorpio. Here you can make multiple. Cool. So if your camp is at the town, you can just make it as is. Otherwise, you need to ship the materials into your wagon, travel to the town if it's friendly or if you have access and it's the right level, and then go craft the artillery there. Cool.
Nice.
Any questions? And that's everything, yeah? So gathering, refining, unit kits, arty, market, wagon, okay, and Thief Quest. So Thief Quest, you got to travel there as well, unless your camp's there. You get to do 20 Thief Quests a week. The Thief Quests change on the weekly reset, and then you can do them once a day. So this one's been upgraded, for example, to 300. So depending on the level of the town is the total max number. So early on, you'll hit these numbers hit max, but as the region opens up and everyone has their own thieves, those numbers won't be being hit. Every time you do a thief quest, there's a couple of bonuses. So you get these for yourself, personal. Honor, house XP, and prestige. These are really important mechanics right now, and a bit of unit kit. If your house directly owns the thief, you also get these bonus rewards. So your house directly, so you can earn a bit of extra honor and prestige. And then you get these building materials. These you need to fill up max here, so get 160 out of 160k, and then they can upgrade this thief to level 7. So what that does is it allows it to build the artillery. They need to be higher house level to declare, and it offers them more influence as well. And then also, then it resets this number, and they need to make sure they keep up this number here. Thief prosperity, if they get conquered or they don't have enough materials in there for the weekly, if that hits 0 and then goes minus again, the thief level will drop. So villagers usually stick around level 1, and it's hard to get this building material up max because the amount of materials you get from the quest is pretty low. But with towns, if it's a 5-star quest, this is a couple hundred, like 150 or something. It's just a lot easier to build up. But that's why thief quests are important to save for generally early on. If we get our own town, we want to get that high level up to level 7 ASAP, so we start building the relevant artillery. Cool. And sometimes some units have thief quest challenges, or it depends on what it is. Alright, so we've pretty much done this as well, so we'll go into the unit kit loss. So we're talking about this. So there's, I would say, 3 stages of unit kit loss in this game. Ranked battles, free battles, and territory war drills have no unit kit loss at all. Go hard, play your golds, play your purples, make mistakes and learn. Sieges have minimal unit kit loss. So when your units die in a siege, there's a chance to lose kits, and once you lose kits, you might lose a little bit, you might lose a lot. But play 10 sieges with your winged hussars and you need to replace a couple. Play 2, maybe you don't have to replace any at all. Field battles are the same. Then you have expeditions, which I would say is a medium unit kit loss. So if you wipe your gold units, it can cost a little bit. And then finally, you have outside world. So territory wars, attacking bandits, being pursued. Your units wipe, they lose a lot of unit kits. So that's why I was talking about your winged hussars in a good night of territory war. You should hit 50 below, repair, and get close again. That's if you're going in and charging every time. But if you're sitting back and saving your unit kits like Siege, you're not going to get far in territory war, yeah? So when you have the chance, play ranked, play free battles, save unit kits, make bronze, and then spend it all when you're replacing unit kits from territory war. Cool? Rebel camps used to be an old mechanic that you'd have to go outside and physically do, but now you can do these plundered thieves much easier. Definitely do this, you get a lot of bonus XP. Alright guys, so I'll move on, but before that, any questions? So we went over the artillery, crafting, thief quests and whatnot. Thieves themselves. Cool.
Are you going to talk about content that gives a lot of XP as well as stacking boosters to do them?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I was going to do that next, to be honest.
Nice.
I was going to kind of do that with quests and weekly quests. Alright. So you get daily quests and you have weekly quests. So you got to get these done in the week. I recommend getting this to the max so you get vault keys out of this to actually use on vaults. You get treaties to open doctrines. When you're opening doctrines, I recommend opening 10 at a time minimum. If you don't get 10 on the 10th, if you don't get a purple, the 10th one's guaranteed to be purple. Generally speaking, leadership came only from cavalry. I do believe that's changed. So to start off, I'd recommend focusing on infantry, then probably cavalry to get your infantry up to scratch first. This changes daily reset. It's random for everyone, so I might go bow, infantry, and then cavalry one day. It's completely random. It doesn't stay on the same one though. So when you actually do stuff, you can stack your bonus XP. So we're talking about the plunder thieves earlier. So you'll have these hero battle advanced XPs. I definitely recommend using the unit ones once you'll be comfortable. You can, if you want to grind XP, generally Expedition 3 is the best because this gives you a higher chance to get an S, and getting an S is what gets you the experience. You need to kill at least 160 troops. You can use your purple and gold storms in the start. Get your loyal guards, grind out Expedition 3s, use your bonus XPs, and then get it in the XP pool, and then upgrade your relevant units like your Winged Hussars, your Imperial Pikes, and whatnot. Good way to get started in the game. I wouldn't recommend doing siege matches with your bonus XPs until you're comfortable, because if you have a shit siege game, like due to your team, not yourself, and only get a B+, you're getting no XP and you're wasting your bonus XPs. So if any of you need help with that, I'm happy to grind a couple with you and show you how to kind of min-max the expeditions as well. Cool. Dailies, definitely get these done. So 5 battles, 3 battles, collect once, do a thief quest and whatnot. These give you XP to yourself, pretty decent. Also gives you house XP. So this one has the daily limit. If it's hit, don't worry about too much. But what you can kind of min-max is the weeklies. If you have weeklies to turn in and you see that the house experience is max for the day, just wait. Next day, bang, drop them, and at least that way you're going to guarantee that the next day is going to hit the max daily cap as well. So hopefully we'll hit level 4 by Saturday, and then we can start declaring on towns. Another thing that you can min-max with weekly quests as well is don't turn them in when you don't need to. Some unit challenges across the previous seasons have challenges like earn a certain amount of prestige, earn a certain amount of house XP, level up a certain amount of times, hand in a certain amount of weekly quests, whatever. You can kind of wait till the end of the week or towards the end of the week and see if you can, if you're about to get to a new page of the condos or Fortebraccios, just wait and see what the new page does and then go do your quest. If you've got 5 or 6 thief quests to hand in and you've got 1 challenge left on a unit, just go to the next page. The next page might have complete 10 thief quests. Just look at opportunities where you're going to take like big decisions, like I'm going to do 6 expeditions in a row. Let me change to a season that actually has expedition challenges. If you always make sure that you're completing challenges and earning XP or doing whatever at the same time, you'll be able to work through this. Don't do expeditions and then you're like, oh shit, none of the units I had any expedition challenges. You're wasting your time, you know what I mean? You especially you newer players, you have plenty of seasons to change through. You can change seasons at any time. I think I forgot to mention this, but you can only work on 1 season at a time, but it saves all your progress on whatever season you are. Don't forget you actually have to physically click change seasons, yeah? Alright, done all this, done that. Let's go weapons. Alright, meta classes. Short sword, dual blades, musket, maul, spear. I think that's it, yeah? Spear, maul, musket, dual blades, short sword. I feel like those are the 5 that you'll see everywhere. Short swords are the tanks. They have this crazy ulti they drop in. I've never played it because I'm not good enough, unfortunately. Glaives are kind of all-round bruisers, heavy armor. They have a really good combo. Having 1 or 2 of them can make a big difference. But short swords, you'll see these guys everywhere. Just crazy good. If you're looking for a new weapon, I definitely recommend it. Pike just came out this season. Really cool looking. Still haven't kind of found its place in the meta. We'll see how it goes. Longbows are crazy good when they actually have stats on their bows. They will kill important units. You'll see a couple of these. You might verse scripters in siege matches. They like shoot 3 or 4 bullets at your head instantly, instant wipe you. Jewel Blades are the assassins. They'll travel around, killing falconetties, destroying artillery, securing hero kills, but they're light armor. Muskets are the only gun. They essentially have two builds. They're either complete unit destroyers or they're hero destroyers. Can mix it up a bit, but caltrops, they drop the fucking bleed on the floor. They'll stop your charges. The bombs can interrupt everything. Crazy class to play. Probably the most annoying class to verse. Shortbows used to be quite powerful back in the day, not so much now. Longbows overtaken. They're more about hero killing and putting pressure on. They can kill units, but not as good as longbow. No Dachi is honestly no for a reason at the start of the name. Do not play it. Like one good Nodachi player could do a lot of work, but once done and it's pretty much done, so I'd stay away. Poleaxe is a CC king, still does it. Doesn't have much hero gameplay. I used to play Poleaxe back in the day for like a full CC build, but still nothing too meta. Longsword is the only support class in the game, so the only ones with a heal and a speed buff. At least one or two of these is really helpful. Unfortunately, you can't do much unit gameplay or what else. You're still quite tanky, but this is about you supporting the team. You're the only one healing, so it's quite useful to have one. You're pretty much a champion if you play this class. Maul is probably still the most broken, I reckon. All blunt damage unlocked through the unit challenges, has a grab, spins to win. And Spear, the hero killers in the game. They have special mechanics on their horses. They guarantee hero kills. Quite tanky when their abilities are up as well. To kind of give you the difference, so there's 3 armor sets you can wear. You have heavy armor, medium armor, and light armor. So heavy armor can only use short sword, glaive, poleaxe, longsword, maul. Medium armor can use all the heavy armor weapons, plus pike, musket, nodachi, and spear. And then light armor can play everything, plus jewel blades, short bow, and longbow. Does that make sense? So as a light armor, you can put on any weapon, but most likely you're playing one of the 3 limited ones. So people might start with a musket and then change to spear, and later as the match goes, you can change mid-game. I generally recommend people have 2 weapons that they're good at of the same class, so you can kind of change in a match if it's necessary. It's generally not. So like, maul, short sword, maul, poleaxe, or like musket, spear, or like jewel blade bow or something. You can change it up between classes as well. You earn skills as you go along, except for the maul and the pike, that you earn those through the challenges. So to get here, same thing, you need to unlock the preceding nodes to get along. Every weapon has 2 ultimates. I think most weapons is pretty clear. There's one superior ultimate. You need skill pages to unlock the ultimates as well. So 5 on the first one, 20 on the second one, and then I believe 35 on the last one, plus mastery points. You kind of work your way along here. If you have any questions about weapons specifically, how to play them, hit me up and we'll find someone. Hit Rune up, ask. Plenty of people have played the weapon. Pretty easy to understand otherwise. I think that's pretty much the weapons covered. Any questions? We'll move on to the last parts here. So you have your weekly events. Check this pretty much every day, I reckon. Here we go. I'm in the wrong place. They change this with any hotfix at their leisure. Booming Games is notorious for it. When I originally started, events used to only go for 1.5 hours. So this was 8 till 9:30. You had to wait to do 3 battles, 3 hours a week, and you had so many challenges. So when I hear people complain now, I've got 4 hours to do 3 battles and I can't get shit done, I say, bro, you get more in one day than we used to get in a whole week. Anyway, that's just me bitching about it. Anyway, so Mondays, Thursdays, always free battle. Tuesdays, Saturdays, 8 till 9:30, territory war. It has never changed, it never will. Tuesday, Saturdays, territory war. Cannot stress this enough. This is the ones that matter. Rock up to these. Ranked Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday during the day, and deathmatch is only Sunday. Then you have a couple other things scattered out. But Monday, Thursday, free battle. Tuesday, Saturday, territory war. Ranked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday deathmatch. Pretty clear. You need certain challenges from these, so you got to make sure. So if you know that free battle's coming up tomorrow, and one of your units from one of your seasons has like this one has 3 battles, try and move on to the next page on a different unit because that could have 3 battles on it as well. So you're working on 2 or 3 units from the same season with 3 battles. Try to min-max your opportunities like that. It makes all the difference. Because I've unlocked everything because I had a notebook and shit saying like, oh, I know that I got to do this with 3 battles. I got to do this season with deathmatch. I got to do this season with territory war. You know what I mean? It takes a while, guys. There's a lot of challenges and a lot of doctrines to unlock. Cool. Deathmatch is hero only. Once a week. It's usually 10v10, I think, or 8v8, depending on the map. Quite fun, quite engaging. Has a lot of challenges. 3 battles has no leadership costs. So 5 gold if you can. Go hard. No unit kit loss. It's pretty much the demolition derby of the weekly schedule. I had a Chinese friend who used to call it child siege just because of like how childish the games are. You know, it's just cav everywhere and whatnot. Have a lot of fun in those and a lot of bronze to be made. Territory war we talked about is the opportunity to go outside, take the fiefs, stamp your ground. It's the end meta gameplay. Like WoW has raids, this has territory war. This is where it gets quite serious. And then ranked is kind of the next level. As in like this is how you improve yourself as an individual, as a team. You need to be minimum level 100, no unit kit loss here, but standard leadership cost and all your item attributes unsealed. I think that's it. I think we've gone over everything, guys. Any questions?
Nice.
I know that's taken a
Yeah.
while, but you can see it's very comprehensive. We've gone over everything at least once. Yeah, so I'm gonna head over to the unit master. You're welcome to leave now. That's pretty much all info done. Now I'm gonna go on to macro. This is the next part. This is quite fun as well if you're interested. Otherwise, you can definitely go home. The building officer, I think. The training camp.
Is it? Yeah.
So, when you cancel something on the resource market and your wagon's full, or you're outside, or it's too big to fit in your wagon, it goes into a resource pile for 7 days. Now, anything you lose here, you lose forever. So, like, this has 3 days on it. If I lose this, that's 47 culverin, 46 culverins gone. So we'll go over unit macro here. So this will be probably about another half an hour, 40 minutes. I'll go over a couple of the basic units, so Imperial Pikes, whatnot. I'll start with condos. I'll just show you how to do stuff, and then it's a couple of quick tips, and then we're done. Thanks for your patience, guys. I know it's been a while, but you only need one of these in your life. You know what I mean? I'm sure some of you are very veterans, and you may have at least saw one thing that you didn't know about before. You know, that's all I hope. Fuck. So laggy. I've got to bring Imperial Pikes. Fuck. Guys, you want like a quick 2-minute break to go toilet or something before we start?
Nope.
Yeah, come back after 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, do that and restart your stream as well, Ozzy. It's quite laggy.
I'll restart my PC. How about that? Magics. Let's restart my stream. Okay, let's get 2 minutes then, yeah? We'll come back at 2 o'clock or midnight on the dot. I need a drink as well.
This is excellent shit. Excellent.
Yeah.
Fuck, I wonder what Chin messaged me. Alright guys, everyone back?
Oh, yup.
So you don't like
Yeah,
what
just-
happened, would you?
Yeah, just restart your stream.
Yes.
How many times have you given this lecture, Ozzy?
Many times. Why?
Too many times, bro. Too many
very,
times.
Very smooth. Very well done. I like this.
I change it up every time. So it's generally pretty the same. Still flagging? I might have to restart my PC if it's lagging that hard.
I think it's not too bad. It's quite okay too.
Alright. So guys, this will be unit micro. You may have very simple. I'm gonna go over it. So moving your units, X, very simple. Double X, you can change formation on the go. When you want to move far, you hold X and you click where you need to go. If you need to make small movements, so if someone says to you, hey bro, I need you to move your shields to the left, don't hold X and do this. He says, hey bro, move your shields to the right, go right, hit X. I need you to go backwards, hit X. I need you to go right, hit X, yeah? When you need to make quick decisions, just trust in the X mechanic. This is you need to learn how to use this. Otherwise, the other way to move your units around is C. I wouldn't recommend using C only because your units essentially get really dumb with their pathing, yeah? When you press C, they will hit you on follow, and then you can make a slight movement here or there, and it'll completely fuck up the formation. But if you're going, I need you to X over here, and then I need you to X over here. I changed my mind, I need you to X over here. They're generally going to stay together. But if I hit C, and then say come this way, you see how they split? Avoid this at all costs. X is king, right? You see a cav charge coming, you can't get out of the way, X into a wall, and X as much as you can. Try and cut the size of your body, so if the cav comes and only hits these side units, you still save something, you know? Use the chance to always kind of, you know, abuse the in-game mechanics. If you have pikes, you can kind of squeeze them into the side here, so there's more pikes stacked on top of each other, etc. Double C is the mechanic to make them run faster to you. Again, I wouldn't use this too much. It is a noticeable difference. That's about it. It's good. So, you need to understand that your units are dumb cunts. If I tell them to X over here, they're going to X over there as quick as they can. But as soon as I hit V, they're like, oh shit. Okay, there's units over there. So, they're moving nice and tight in formation. I hit V and they all go in. Now, my units are fighting. These guys in the back like, fuck, I can't find anyone. You hit X, you walk in, you hit V, bang, everyone's involved in the fight. Little micros like this will completely change your gameplay. Oh, the left side's clear, right side is a hero, X them in, hit V, that hero's dead. Like, you need to know how to make your units work. When you hit V and leave them to themselves, they're dumb cunts. But you give a little X and a little V and they're suddenly turning into Rambos. So we'll try this here again. Oh, we got fucking archers.
It's still quite laggy, Aussie, man.
Is it?
Yeah, bro.
Shall I reset then, guys? I don't mind. You guys gonna wait?
Well, it's up to the rest.
Could be like Discord.
Maybe just restart the stream.
I've tried.
Oh.
Let me restart Discord.